All right, moving on to Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Now, this is directed by Rennie Harland, who usually does a bunch of action flicks like Cliffhanger and Die Hard 2, Die Harder. That's seriously still one of the stupidest fucking subtitles for a movie ever. And The Long Kiss Goodnight and Deep Blue Sea and a pretty underappreciated horror movie in The Devil's Path. I don't know why everyone seems to dislike that movie so much, but yeah. So, let's get to the movie. Now, Robert Englund gets top billing here, finally. I think they finally realized that Robert Englund's Freddie was why people were coming back. So, they finally were like, it's Robert Englund, just so you know. Like, this is the Freddie you want. Because he's kind of like pushed to the back of the credits in all the last three. But this one, it's like Robert Englund in. So, they really caught on that he was why these were being so successful. And 4 movies in a row, really good openings. Really have enjoyed all the openings, and I really enjoy all the characters in these. Going back and rewatching this one, I was surprised at how much I remember. Like, I remember pretty much everything. But I really like the characters. I've really liked the characters in all 4 so far. Part 5 is the one that I'm the most shaky on in my memory. I'm very curious to go back and rewatch that one. I'll probably be watching and be like, oh yeah, I remember every bit of this. But it's been a long time since I've seen that one. And we got a new girl playing Kristen here because Patricia Arquette was pregnant at the time of filming. And she's kind of 50-50 for me. And I'm not sure if this is her fault or if it's the directors or it's the editor picking wrong takes or what, but half the time I feel like she was solid and good and totally adequate for the role. And then other times, I don't know, her acting and her range is rocky and it hurts. And when you're replacing somebody from another film, you really want to bring your A game for all of it. But as I said, that could be a director's problem. He couldn't have been leading her. She might have been nervous that she was taking on, what would be such a big role for her in that time. I don't know if she did much after this. Tuesday Night, interesting name. I didn't really look into it. I don't recognize her from much. So I don't know how much of a career she had after this, but she's fine. I think overall I'm just kind of like, yeah, I liked her. She's pretty and she's adequate and, cool. I would have liked to have Patricia Arquette back, obviously. I like continuity. I'm a big stickler for that kind of stuff, so I'm never a big fan of them changing up actresses or actors. I love that we get Dramarama's Anything in here. Awesome song. We get to hear it twice. And in the last movie, we got the addition, because in the second movie, Jesse brought in the idea that, Freddie could possess somebody and that he could come back to reality through Jesse. In the third one, we had the addition of Kristen being able to pull people into her dreams. And in this one, Alice is a daydreamer. So Freddie kind of can walk the line between reality and dreams because she's in a daydream-like state. I like the addition of daydreaming. I think that was a smart addition to further the mythology, the mythos within this series. So I like that. And then I like that it's almost like a passing of the torch from Kristen once she dies to Alice. And Alice also kind of splits the kills with Freddie in a way where she brings him the souls of these kids. She brings them into his nightmare because they're not connected and he just wants new kids. Like, he's full. He's killed all the kids of Springwood and now he wants more kids. Like, he's greedy. He's his hunger for souls is insatiable. And so he makes her bring them into his dream, and he takes the souls and she takes on their characteristics and their abilities. She's able to, learn Kung Fu. I know Kung Fu. And she's able, she starts picking up people's, her friend's intelligence, and she becomes like this dream warrior. I guess that would fit here as well. But I do. I like those. I like those additions. So there are some things in this movie though that I thought were silly, and I'll get to those. Um, one of the first ones is the writers sitting around trying to figure out how to resurrect Freddie. Now, I do think Kristen is the reason that Freddie came back. She couldn't let it go, you know. So she was getting scared, and she just, like, Kincaid and Joey had moved past it. They were on with their lives. They were done. They had enough of this. And Kristen was just like, she couldn't let it go. And she brought Freddie back. So it's Kristen's fault. But I don't know. When they were sitting around, they were trying to think like, okay, how do we bring him back? I feel like Kristen being scared would have been enough. But having Jason, the dog from Kincaid, piss on the ground and the ground light up on fire, like, I don't know, just sitting around the writer's room and it's like, how do we bring Freddie back? And it's like, well, let's resurrect him through dog piss. I mean, that's really what happened here. That would sound like a joke if I said it to somebody. Like, well, how does Freddie come back in the fourth movie? I'd be like, well, through dog piss. And they'd be like, okay, shut the fuck up. Well, how does he really come back? And I'd be like, no, fucking for real. A dog pisses on the ground and it resurrects as Freddie. That's just a silly choice when you say it out loud. Like in the movie, it's a cool visual. Like Jason comes at Kincaid and he's all like aggressive and then he pisses and it turns to fire. It looks cool. But I don't know. When I say it out loud, I just dropped my paper here and I lost my notes. There they are. It just sounds overly silly. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about that. We get to see Robert Englund in his real form here, which we do get to see him a little bit in Nightmare on Elm Street 2 as the bus driver for like half a second. In this one, we get to see him in full drag as the nurse. And the house from, 1428 Elm is brought back here again 4 films in a row, which is cool. I like the connectivity of it. But she refers to it as his house. And I found that interesting because Nancy was able to best him 2 different times, he then returns to her house. Because, he killed somebody in Glenn's house. He killed somebody, if we're still taking on 2, because I don't know, 3 makes it seem like 2 was being ignored. But if we take on 2, he killed somebody in Grady's house. He killed he killed a bunch of people over at Lisa's house. He's killed kids at, freaking Tina's house. Like, he's killed kids all over Springwood. So why he takes Nancy's house as his, because this is his house, this is Freddie's house. And even the kids in the dreams, like Freddie's home. Like when she's in 1428 Elm, like they're like Freddie's home. So he's taken up residence in Nancy's house. So because she was his main adversary, he like takes it up as a trophy now that she's dead. I don't know. It was interesting to think like every time they've made a movie so far, they've brought back this house specifically. And I get it. It's for the fans and it's recognizable to them. And we never saw Freddie's house, so he can't go back to his house. Otherwise it would be like, what the fuck is this? It's more iconic to see that house. But just taking it from a story standpoint, being like, why would he pick that house as the house that he resides in? Anyway. And when Kristen goes home and her mom drugs her drink and she looks down at her drink and there's clearly like pills dissolving in the bottom. Like it's like really cloudy at the top and then like you can see the pills dissolving at the bottom. Like, she didn't notice that? What'd you think it was, an Alka-Seltzer? I thought that was funny when she looks at the drink and it's all dissolving in there. I'm like, you didn't look at what you were drinking? Yeah. Oh, God. And she blames her mom for killing Freddie. And we kind of get this throughout the series a little bit. And I'm just kind of like, this guy murdered children and got away with it. And the townspeople rose up and solved the problem themselves. And yes, I understand that you are now being punished for their actions, But did they really do anything wrong? I mean, I know people would debate that and be like, murder is wrong and you're just going to become them and all that. But it's like, what did you think he was going to do? Like, even if they didn't kill him, he would have terrorized and murdered more children. So, what are the likelihoods that he's going to come back as this dream demon? Pretty much zero. I mean, in this universe, clearly, it was 100%, but in reality, you would kill this guy and you would not think he's going to come back and haunt my children. So I agree with them. And I get why she's attacking her mom like that. She's scared out of her mind. But I was just, I don't know, they keep getting shit on for doing this. And they feel bad about it. And I'm like, I wouldn't fucking feel bad about that. If I wanted to lynched Freddie because he murdered my child, I'd sleep easy. And even if he was in my dreams, I'd be like, fuck you, I'd do it again. And what a pussy. Why doesn't he come after them? Fucking pussy. Anyway. And Kristen is pretty much the big one to blame here. I mean, she's the one that brings Kincaid and Joey back in. She gets them killed. And then she brings Alice in. And that's it. Then she kind of passes the curse onto them. And then Alice takes that and pushes it onto her brother and everybody else. And so Kristen not only resurrects Freddie, but then she brings everyone into her dreams to be killed by Freddie, and then she's offed. So they just kind of brought back Kristen's character to screw her. Now, Freddie in this one, the majority of lines, and this is, I think, a lot of people say part 2 is the last place, like he's ever like truly scary and that they went a more comedic route with him. And while I can agree to an extent that in 3 he becomes a little more comedic than ever before, I think this is the one where Freddie became more of a comedian than a scary presence. Like, I think in the 3rd one, the mass majority of his screen time is actually scary or trying to be. And there are a couple puns like the tongue-tied thing and the welcome to primetime bitch lines. But in this one, pretty much the majority of his lines are puns. I mean, like 80-90% of the lines that come out of his mouth in this movie are jokes or puns for us to laugh at, which makes him a more comedic presence, which starts to take away from the fear factor. And it just became more of like a fun time instead of a scary time. But it makes sense because how many times can you see the same guy doing the same shit and it'd be scary? We're there more for a body count at this point. But yeah, I would argue that this is the movie where he became more of the comedic presence than Dream Warriors. Although I do see that start in the transition in that one. When Kristen dies, we see her grave, and it says from 1969 to 1980, and we can't see the rest because the flowers are in front of the epitaph, and we can't see what's actually written there. And I think that was on purpose to leave it kind of open because we don't really know what the timeline is here. Now, in the first movie, and I'm not saying that the movie has to be set in the year in which it was released, but if it is, it was set in 1984. The events of the 3rd film are supposed to take place at least 5 years if the 2nd film is anything to gauge off of. And as I said, Nancy went through grad school. So in this one, it has to be at least 5 years since, which would put us into 1989. And if it is in 1989, that would make Kristen 20 years old. From 1969 to 1989, she's 20 years old. So why is Kristen in high school? So, I don't know. I was just noticing that, and I was just like, huh, okay. Kristen's in high school, and she's 20. She's stupid? She get held back? I mean, she was in a mental ward. Maybe she's just going back to make up for some classes. But she's raping that freaking karate kid, though. He's only like 16. So shame on her. And Sheila's death, like, I like the suck face thing. I mean, that's one pun. There's one of fucking 50 in the movie. But when she looks down, she sees all the numbers moving around, and then like learning's fun with Freddie. I like that. But then like the robot arm that comes out and grabs her face, I found that to be really stupid. That feels like a last minute, like, I don't know what to do here. We need a jump scare. How about a robot arm that looks like it's from fucking like one of those Land of the Lost, or no, not Land of the Lost, one of those old freaking 50s, 60s sci-fi television shows. Can't believe I just blanked on that title of that show. Oh well, it doesn't matter. But it just, I don't know, it looks so stupid to me. It just didn't feel like it fit, and I don't see what it was that made it like, because a lot of the other, and I might have just missed it, but a lot of the other characters, they like the karate guy, he fights Freddie in a dojo, and then the girl who's constantly working out, he goes and he attacks her while she's working out. Like, I don't know, the robot arm, I don't know how that applied to the geeky girl, because she's into science, I guess, and she built like a little electronic gadget that sends out frequencies to scare off bugs, so she's into mechanics, and it's a robot arm, I guess. I don't know, that's just, it just looks stupid to me. Anybody else think that's stupid? I thought it was stupid. I like that Freddy's glove looks like a shark fin, like in Jaws, and they show it coming through the water at her when she's dreaming, when she goes into her thing, and she's like, take me to my happy place. I figured she'd go see Happy Gilmore's freaking grandmother winning slot machine. But like, we see Freddy's glove coming across as a shark fin. I thought that was a really cool shot. It's fun, and it's a neat shot. And there's such a guilt trip on Alice. Like, I totally feel for this chick. Like, she is killing her friends in this movie, much like Kristen did earlier in the film. But at least Kristen got to die and not have to think about it. Alice is just feeling awful. Like, he's like, bring me another one. And then, like, she just instantly thinks of her, her friend that's working out. God, I wish I would have remembered these people's names, but I just don't. Like, she just sees him, he's like, thanks, and he like throws her away. And God, how horrible would you feel? Like, you just fucking got that person killed. Another scene that I thought was really stupid, personally, was the karate dojo scene. Him fighting Freddie invisible and like kicking at nothing in the air. It was just almost like they couldn't get a good enough choreographer for them to fight and for it to not look stupid, so they just decided, well, we'll make him invisible and then it won't look so stupid. No, I think it made it look even stupider, personally. I just thought that scene was dumb, just outright. And then his glove like gets kicked off, which we never saw before, but now his glove flew across the room, and then it just flies back and it stabs him in the stomach. I don't know, not my favorite death. But on the flip side of that, the workout girl, whatever the hell her name is, since I can't remember because I'm an idiot, her death, and I'm waiting, I'll watch the rest of these series kind of, trying to gauge here, but Jesus, I think that girl has the worst death in the series, so far for sure. She has her arms bent backwards to the point where they snap out of her elbows, which was gnarly as fuck and awesome. And then her arms start to fall off and she starts turning into a cockroach. And then she gets trapped in one of those roach motels and her face gets stuck and she pulls her face off. Holy fuck, man. That actually makes me, as much as I hate cockroaches, that actually made me feel for them. Like, oh man, those traps are mean. Like, they sit in there and they're stuck and they try to rip themselves off and they're just, Jesus, what a gruesome death. Her death has got to be the worst, if not one of the worst, in the whole series. Lots of great practical special effects work in this film. So many. And really like the pizza with the little sausage balls with the people's faces on it. Like, sticks it through the guy's head. I thought that looked fantastic. Another one, probably my favorite one, is at the end when she defeats him, dies at the end of every one of these and then comes back. But when he opens it up, I always like that, like, chest full of like souls. That's just really cool visual. but then they start like ripping out of him, and they start tearing his face and every part of him, and like come out of his head, and they rip his jaw, and the whole top of his head comes off, and they all start flying out. That whole sequence is just fantastic practical work. Lot of really great practical work within this film. The scene that I remember the best, just like overall throughout the years, the one that when I think of this movie, the thing I always think about is the repetitive Groundhog's Day scene when her and her boyfriend, to-be, are jumping the truck and just keep circling around. Freddie has them in a time loop so that they can't get there in time to save their friend. I thought that was, if you have the ability to manipulate time and people's actions and whatnot, that was one hell of a way to keep them away from her house. But Alice, I really like Alice. I think she has a good character arc here. She starts as the shy, she's afraid of her own shadow. She can't look at herself in the mirror. She's dominated by her father and will never stick up for herself. She can't talk to the boy at school. Like, she is just, so timid and afraid of everything. And she really pulls her shit together with the help of acquiring the abilities from her friends. But I love that she was able to overcome all of those things in a conveniently short amount of time through a Rocky type or a Rambo type montage where she's like lacing up and doing all that stuff. But she pulls it together and she kicks Freddie's ass. I mean, it's all for nothing. I know she's in the next movie too, and she probably dies in that. I can't remember. But she defeats him for at least a day. I mean, not many people are able to defeat him even for like a minute, but she's one of them. And then she ends up getting the guy at the end and everything, so it works out. And Freddie's demise in this is another like dog piss moment. It's like, how do we defeat Freddie this time? Well, we'll foreshadow this with Alice not being able to look in the mirror, and then when she remembers the line, it'll be like, once the demon sees itself, it'll kill whatever. And he sees himself in the mirror. Really, he sees himself in the mirror, and that defeats him, that kills him, that makes him release all the souls. Because what? He doesn't like the way he looked? Like, I don't know. He never saw a mirror anywhere else in the film. I mean, he's in the mirror when he looks at Jesse in part 2. I don't know. Just the mirror thing. Really, that's the best you came up with on how to defeat him? That was just silly. She didn't like do anything to the mirror. She didn't like have a specific mirror that she got or anything. It was just any mirror. You could just bring up a mirror in any of these movies and that would have been how you defeat him. Like, why in the 5th movie doesn't she just then have a mirror like handy at all times? I don't know. It's just silly to me. But yeah, anyway, that's that. 20 freaking 3 minutes of yapping about this. But I like to be thorough. So anyone who's still here, I am going to go watch The Dream Child. All right.